Let's go!
60 different types of programming.
There's truly something for everyone right here. FM,
HD,
Amazon Echo,
Google Home,
the TuneIn Radio app,
the iHeartRadio app,
and nccradio.org.
The voice of Nassau Community College.
This is the award-winning 90.3 WHPC.
WHPC HD, Garden City.
on the air, everywhere.
Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box, right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. My name is Rob Leonard, and joining me, of course, is award-winning sports writer, and yes, my brother, Tim Leonard. And we should say that about 9:15 or so, we will have Ian O'Connor on.
Another award-winning sports writer.
Who currently writes for ESPN.com, but he wrote a new book. Or I shouldn't say new book, a book. That's new.
It's pretty new.
About Bill Belichick. And we'll be talking about Bill and the book with Ian at 9:15 or so. So we're here. Now, I don't even know where to start, brother. World Series ends last night. Red Sox proved outright they're the best team in baseball.
Can't argue that.
Some people, maybe a bearded person in this room, not me, thought they weren't going to win.
Well, once they beat the Astros, I knew they were going to win.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that was silly.
Okay. Well,
there wasn't a National League team, any American League team that would have gotten to the World Series would have won the World Series.
So you said no. The Dodgers aren't worthy of being there. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I'm just
as usual for the Red Sox when they get to the World Series, they face a vastly inferior opponent.
Right.
You might remember in 2004, I believe they faced a very flawed Cardinals team,
right.
And then when what was it 2008? I think
Seven.
it was seven. They played the Rockies, who won something like 20 of their last 21 just to get to the playoffs. And were so gassed by the time they got to the World Series that they finally regressed to their normal level and got hammered in the World Series. They didn't belong there. Well, and now the Dodgers team, which was under 500 in June,
right?
And forget it. It's just not a quality team.
I have to say, Friday night's game. I don't want to call it one of the greatest World Series games because it was a lot of innings where there was nothing happening. But sometimes that's the best thing. I just want to say, what's the guy's name? The pitcher.
Nathan Eovaldi.
Eovaldi.
Yes.
I was thinking Eovaldi for some reason.
I don't know.
He pitched as a starting pitcher. I mean, he is in there.
That's what he did.
And he lost. But you know what? The Red Sox should have at least won in a couple of those innings, and they didn't. And it's a walk-off homer, which is how everything wants to end now in baseball. Well, at least some people want that. I'm not sure.
That's sorry to cut you off, brother, but basically, on one hand, you could say, yeah, it was a great game because it was only because it was 18 innings. But on the other hand, I look at that game and it was maddening because it was bad baseball. Every batter who came up was swinging for the fences.
That's right. That's why.
And it was bad baseball. I fell asleep at 1:30.
Right.
And while I was watching the game, which was supposed to be such an exciting game, fell asleep on my couch, woke up at 3:15, saw the game was still going on, and basically said, hell no, and said, I'm going to bed because I had to go to work on Saturday.
Right. But you know something? I'm reminded of what I consider the greatest game ever, Red Sox Mets Game 6.
The Mookie Wilson game.
Mookie Wilson. What does he keep doing? He keeps getting foul balls. The Mets had singles to get on base, basically.
Yeah.
They weren't going for home runs.
They manufactured runs.
If they were all going for home runs, Gary Carter would have hit one to the center fielder, and they would have been out of it.
Right.
So I'm thinking of that game, and I'm like, maybe if the Red Sox could learn, maybe. I mean, they won the World Series, so good for them. Or both teams maybe learn, or baseball just learn, that you don't have to go for the home run every time. These guys were looking like it was
that's how baseball has changed.
It was like batting practice. I'm going to kick it out of here. And, the greatest comeback was with a bunch of singles with the Mets.
Yeah.
So,
and if you remember, the runs that were scored in extra innings were scored because of errors. So, I mean, how did the Dodgers tie the game? Ian Kinsler fielded a ball, he slipped, and then instead of just eating the ball, which he should have done, he threw it 10 feet wide at first base.
Right.
And that allowed the tying run to score. So, and the Dodgers in the inning before that really tried hard to throw the game away.
Right.
So not good baseball.
Not at all.
And then, like you said, Eovaldi pitched. He was outstanding.
He was
and
fantastic.
he is going to be one of the interesting stories of the offseason because he's a free agent now.
Right.
So what kind of contract is he going to get? Because he is a guy who, in the past, and basically for his entire career, has been a very frustrating pitcher because he can throw 100 miles an hour. And he can do that deep in games. So he has an electric fastball, but it's straight. And he's never gotten consistently the results that he got in this postseason, where he really was dominant for most of the time that he was on the mound.
Right.
So are people going to look at that small sample size and say, hey, Nathan Eovaldi, we will give you
a huge amount of money.
whatever, 3 years for $45 million. I don't know what he gets. And chances are that before this postseason, Nathan Eovaldi would have been on like a 1 year, $6 million deal. But I'm curious to see how many believers there are and who is willing to give this guy a 3-year deal. I'm not even. I don't think he'll get a 4-year deal just because he's had 2 Tommy John surgeries now. But
really,
yeah,
he came back.
Yeah, and he still throws 100.
Maybe he shouldn't be throwing 100.
It's the power. It's the power of rehab, brother. I keep telling people, do your rehab.
Maybe it should be like, okay, I can throw 96. If I could save my arm.
Beard is bothering me. I got to shave this thing. Got hair in my mouth.
Don't worry. You have to trim, brother.
Well, yeah, but that's when I thought.
My brother finally grew a beard for the first time since college.
The Zach Penza revenge beard. That's what this is.
And it looks great on him. And
I was told yesterday at work I look distinguished.
You look good.
I'm trying to get good light here so people
There's no good light in this room.
On Facebook Live can see it without
the
without
fluorescents
fog.
are crazy. Anyway, let's continue to talk about the game, brother.
But yesterday, I'll be honest, I was watching football last night. I didn't even watch the game because I kind of knew, I had a good sense of what was going to happen.
And how is that? Think about that. I want to see the ratings on these because I assume in Boston it was like 90% watching.
Of course.
I assumed in Los Angeles it was 60%.
All the chowderheads were, they were watching and drinking beer and getting drunk.
You know what the thing is on Friday's game? You know who's in the front row there?
Mary Hart.
Mary Hart.
Of course.
You know who her husband is?
No.
The executive producer of the Midnight Special, Burt Sugarman.
Okay.
And
don't know.
The pride of Brooklyn, even though he's in L.A. now.
Larry King.
Of
course.
Though he wasn't sitting with Sandy Koufax, if you're looking for that.
Koufax probably said, get away from me.
Yeah, that's what I said. We're not going to Carvel. You got a lot of mileage out of that.
Yeah, so, but, I pretty much knew that it was going to end last night. So I didn't bother to watch. Steve Pearce hit 2 home runs. I don't understand. The guy has one good game, and they make him the MVP of the series. I got to be honest. I thought David Price should have been the MVP. 2 quality starts.
God, yeah, definitely.
2 quality starts for a guy who's been crap his entire career in the postseason. For him to have 2 quality starts like that in the World Series, he should have gotten the MVP.
Oh, definitely.
Instead of a guy who Pearce had 3 home runs. He had 2 of them last night. How does that get to the MVP? He was 4 for 12 in the series in 5 games. That means he didn't play a couple of games.
Price was more than worthy of being the MVP.
He was outstanding. You got to give credit where it's due. And I'm never going to hate on somebody for doing the job and getting it done. And as much as I don't like the fact that the Red Sox won the World Series, I got to give them props. 108 wins during the season.
Yeah. They
buzzed through everybody in the postseason. They beat the Yankees in 5. They beat the Astros in 5, and now they beat the Dodgers in 5. You can't find fault with it. Congratulations.
I hope Bob Croce, your buddy from Boston, is listening.
He wants me to apologize. What is he? He's on drugs or something.
Why would you want to? He wants you to apologize.
He said, "Oh, that prediction that you made 2 weeks ago, the Red Sox weren't going to win another game." I told him, I said, Croce, I said, if you want me to apologize for that, I said, you have to make about 2,000 apologies for all the Croce idiot predictions that you've made over the years.
That's a trademark.
I call them CIPs. I've trademarked it now.
He tried to. You beat it to him.
2,000 apologies, minimum, at least, if not more. So he says, oh, you should apologize. I'm not apologizing for anything.
I don't blame you.
I made a credible observation. I spoke my mind. I said what I felt, and I thought the Red Sox were on the ropes. Turns out they weren't.
They weren't.
Hey, I was wrong. It happens.
And we'll see how much of this team comes back next year. That's going to be the thing.
For the Red Sox, or
for the Red Sox.
They got a few free agents.
Yeah. So
David Price won't opt out because nobody will pay him what he's making there. He's making $31 million a year. Nobody's giving him that.
To all Red Sox players, I will give you the story I like to tell about Pedro Martinez. 2004, he gets a World Series ring. He's loved in Boston. Probably still is.
They love him.
Did you see Big Papi, by the way, dancing around, being like a fool?
That was ridiculous. You're not on a team.
I know that.
You're not even a coach.
I know that.
All right? Get out. Get off the field.
But Fox was loving. Oh, look at Big Papi.
Right.
And
he's doing selfies and FaceTime or whatever.
And they were cheering him.
It was stupid.
I hate to say this. It's part of any World Series is how it's covered.
Yeah.
Our friends at Fox, you know what? If you're going to put 4 players or 4 people to do a show in the middle of Fenway Park, basically, outside, you know what? Put a little sound shield behind because you could not hear what they were saying.
That happened at the Wrigley Field a couple years ago. When
Frank Thomas is holding his mic down here.
Can't hear him.
You can't hear him at all. A-Rod's the only one who knows how to talk into a microphone, surprisingly.
A-Rod, he's a pro.
And Kevin Burkhardt was trying to keep these guys going, but they were just going off. You couldn't hear them.
Yeah.
You could not hear them.
It was
bad. Horrible.
It was bad. And that's something, I mean, people who watch us on the Facebook Live, they see I have the microphone right in front of my face.
Right.
That's how you do it.
This is like Frank Thomas, like hey.
My brother. For those of you who can't see him, my brother now has the microphone a foot and a half away from him. So that's
I love that commercial he does where he has to do it in one line at a time. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, what, Nugenics or whatever it is? Why am I even mentioning? Why am I giving them a plug?
Yeah, that's why I said that product.
Yeah, sorry.
So anyway, but next time you do something like that, and I like when they do that because it's a lot of energy.
Right.
But you got to do something to block out all the chowder heads.
They do.
And even when they
because all the fans are screaming. That's all they want to do is scream.
They're drunk and they're screaming. Fortunately, there wasn't a lot of cursing. Surprisingly.
It wasn't a lot.
A lot.
It means there was some.
Because, you kept hearing these little dropouts. And
let's face it.
I'm not sure if that was a audio dropout or they're just switching mics.
Come on. A-Rod was there. There was a lot of profanity. They probably had the cops there. Somebody gave them a little warm-up before they got out there and said, look, A-Rod's coming out here. If you guys want to stay, no profanity.
Yeah, well.
Otherwise, we're getting the cops after you.
Well, they had a sign, someone said, "Marry me, J-Lo."
Or either that, or they said, "Hey, if you guys don't use profanity, we'll give you a keg."
Yeah,
something to inspire the Boston people.
So I was impressed with Boston. We'll see what happens next year if they continue this. And the other side of the coin, very quickly, brothers, before we get to Kyle after our break.
Yes.
What do the Yankees now have to do to move it up a little bit?
They need pitching. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. There's talk about Manny Machado now because Didi Gregorius is going to be injured. We talked about that last week.
Right.
I don't want Manny Machado, especially after his performance in the World Series and stepping on guys' ankles at first base.
Yeah.
He's a jerk. I don't want him on the Yankees. All right. They don't need more bats. The offense is fine on that team. They could use somebody who can help create runs because I'm not sure they're going to re-sign Brett Gardner. I'm not sure they're going to exercise his option.
Right.
So, but they need pitching. They need good pitching. Patrick Corbin more than likely will be a Yankee next year. All right? They're going to probably re-sign J.A. Happ. So now you have Severino, Tanaka, Happ, and Corbin. And I want to see, do they make a run at Clayton Kershaw? Is Clayton Kershaw willing to leave the Dodgers? He has an opt-out. More than likely, he's going to exercise it. But it's going to take $35 million a year for 5 years to get him. Sure. I don't do the math. Whatever, $165 million?
Not worth it.
It's worth it, but will he leave L.A.? That's the question.
I don't know.
Clayton Kershaw's worth it. He's still
$35 million?
He's still one of the top 3 pitchers of baseball.
Okay. By the way, one more thing, brother, before we take a break. First-year manager, Alex Cora, for the Red Sox. Not a bad year.
He certainly outmanaged Dave Roberts by a considerable amount. Dave Roberts screwed up that World Series for the Dodgers.
A bunch of times.
He was awful. He was vastly outmanaged. And I'll give Alex Cora credit. I thought he outmanaged